From axing a crowd pleaser like Mindhunter to pulling the rug from acclaimed shows like Glow after promising more seasons. You can count on Netflix to cancel some of its best shows without a warning. Are my feelings a joke to you, Netflix? They've done it so much that I made a list, starting with Anne with an E. Imagine being this high and mighty streaming platform with millions of users, and being so detached from their viewership habits. It's like you struggle to find something worthwhile to watch on there, and suddenly they're like, no, you can't have that. You must watch this sickly, cringy rom-com we produced instead. That's exactly what it was like when they took Anne away from us. This adored historical drama series was set in the 19th century. Fans were attached to watching the young orphan adjust to life on Prince Edward Island. The show's superb storytelling, which was based on the cherished book series written by Lucy Maud Montgomery in 1907, reflected Anne's lovely journey. Though not a Netflix original, Anne with an E managed to attract viewers' interest by addressing very significant themes that are still relevant today. It was a rare gem, that one. And yet, Anne with an E was canceled due to issues between CBC and Netflix. Petitions were started to save the program after fans learned that the third season would be the final. And it made no sense because it'd been extremely well received during its run, and was a verified Netflix hit. Imagine it had people like Ryan Reynolds begging Netflix to continue the show. Alas, it was all in vain. Despite the best efforts of viewers worldwide, the series ended. And there's another loophole in this. Netflix doesn't allow canceled shows to pick up another platform soon after. So who knows when it'll be back again? Or if, isn't that just infuriating? Now, for this next show that got canceled, I hear money became a problem. I'm talking about The Get Down. Where do I start? It was aesthetically stunning, a sensory overload that transported us to a disco-filled Bronx in the 1970s, which is essentially what you'd anticipate when having Baz Luhrmann as a director. Naturally, you anticipate that to come with a large price tag as well. The Get Down only had one season, because it seems there wasn't a big enough audience to make the money spent worthwhile. Basically, they told the rest of us folks that we aren't good enough. Niche. There's a term for it, Netflix. It wasn't widely praised by critics who frequently echoed the standard Luhrmann critique that it was more about style than substance. It was for artsy people like you and I. The high-profile, ambitious hip-hop musical received a cancellation after just 11 episodes. Together with The Crown, The Get Down was one of the most costly Netflix and television projects ever. The first season alone cost roughly $120 million. So yes, the commitment to another costly season was the factor in the show's cancellation. Up next is Tuca and Birdie, which got canceled not once, but twice. Yep, first by Netflix after its first season in 2019, and then 2 seasons later by Adult Swim, which stepped in to save it. Who doesn't love anthropomorphic birds talking about female companionship, struggles, and coming to terms with age, huh? The comedy, which featured Ali Wong and Tiffany Haddish, was created by the same group as BoJack Horseman, which isn't surprising given the show's animation. Instantly reminds you of BoJack. But losing female-focused storylines is always sad, especially in the animation industry when characters like Big Mouth and Harley Quinn have established themselves so well. Its success after Netflix canceled it was sufficient evidence that it may have clipped its wings too soon. Next up, a show that had people running for Disney+. Jessica Jones, of course. I really don't think people at Netflix think things through. Their axe is definitely making other people richer. Anywho, it was a double-edged sword kind of situation. Marvel tested the waters on MCU serial excursions with the help of Netflix before launching Disney+. And one of the series they made, based on the gritty superheroes roaming the streets of New York City, was Jessica Jones. The series featured David Tennant as maybe one of the most ominous and terrible villains in the entire extended universe, and Kristen Ritter as the super-strength drunken PI. Even in the case of someone who has the ability to throw a man through a brick wall, the show chose to focus on female trauma and abuse as a unique perspective on the anguish of superheroes. That's what they took away from us, y'all. It lasted 3 seasons, but was canceled in 2019 after never quite matching the brilliance of its debut. Okay, fair. But what about American Vandal? Canceling that was brutal. There's virtually nowhere American Vandal couldn't have gone because it's an anthology series. The mockumentary series asked true crime documentary style and aesthetics to look into a number of low-level school pranks. It was ingenious. a spoof of true crime podcasts like Serial and the groundbreaking Netflix series Making a Murderer, while the second season attempted to identify the perpetrator who tainted the cafeteria food with laxatives. The first season concentrated on catching the guy who spray painted a bunch of phalluses on the instructor's car. Oh man, it's a shame that American Vandal couldn't maintain its shtick. It always hit the brief with satire, given how prevalent true crime has become. Now, there were shows like Glow who got hit by the pandemic, but we're still gonna blame Netflix, okay? Another female-centric story that got canned. In a way, Netflix's decision to cancel the fourth and final season of the show mid-production, owing to COVID-related filming constraints, was a sign of things to come. Even while you can't literally maintain social distance with someone by crotch slamming them into the mat in a wrestling match, the situation felt like a case of life mimicking art. I mean, a series about a team of underdogs who are constantly in danger of losing their chance. It was a true cult favorite, and so close to having a satisfying end, which makes its abrupt cancellation much more disappointing. You know what's even more infuriating? No effort has been made to let the story end. Even after the pandemic, very few series with a predominantly female cast gave the same depth and diversity. Give us closure, guys! Now, for another great show lost in the Marvel-Disney war. I'm talking about Daredevil. We used to be a proper country, and Netflix used to be watchable. Just like Jessica Jones, this series was tested by Netflix and Marvel to create something centered around the MCU's street-level heroes. And even Marvel executives anticipated at least a 5-season pack. Charlie Cox played the iconic blind superhero for only 3 seasons until Netflix canceled it. It was a perfect real-world complement to Marvel's galactic offering because it was grungy, dingy, and mired in darkness, literally and figuratively. It was also grittier than most movies and television shows. But even if the series had been able to run its course, it would have still been removed from the platform along with the rest of its Marvel counterparts. I hope you're happier with Disney Plus Daredevil. Now, for the shows we won't forget, and one we won't forgive Netflix for canceling either, it's none other than Mindhunter. Ugh. An early adopter of the true crime craze, the series starred Jonathan Groff, Holt McCallany, and Anna Torv. But it was most popular because it was overseen by David Fincher, who also served as its de facto showrunner and directed the majority of the episodes. It was ominous, plotting, and light on cheap thrills in the manner of classic Fincher, the antithesis of Netflix's approach to binge-watching. Despite a clear setup for a third season centered on the Unabomber and some vague hints thrown around the show would return, David Fincher announced in February 2023 that the show had really ended. Why? Well, they believed enough time had gone for no one to truly care. It was too pricey, and it wasn't attracting the kind of obsessive fandom Netflix relies its analytics on. Wrong, but okay. Mindhunter will always be remembered as the best series Netflix has ever produced. Even though the actors and crew may have moved on, we haven't. That's all for the most infuriating cancellations in Netflix history.